3000.
What he's doing, my name's Maloney. This is the 3000 podcast. I'm joined today by Andrei Sablinskis.
How you going? Thanks for having
coming, man.
Pleasure.
So we're going to talk predominantly about BMX, but we're also going to talk about your story, and we're going to talk your story mid-school BMX. This is a new term I've just learned.
So BMX was a massive part of my uprising in my teenage years through to, your mid-20s, and talking a few stories and making vids and finding spots for the first time, all without the age of the internet and YouTube and Instagram and geo positions and stuff like that on your phone, where you could just drop a pin and you'd go there. So
kids don't know the struggle pre-internet with life in general.
We've got it on a platter these days, but that was half the fun, was going around to spots and seeing new places and just soaking it all in. All with the Melways.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've got the big Melways map, the whole city over there, man.
Yeah, nice.
Check it out. All right, so let's start. Growing up, I believe you might have been in the eastern suburbs out there. Whereabouts did you grow up, and how did you get involved in the BMX scene, man?
Yeah, so grew up in Box Hill.
Yep.
So born in Kew, but born and raised in Box Hill and with my family, of course. And got into BMX, I suppose, through chance more than anything else.
Yep.
It's all sliding doors moments. I remember many, many years ago going to Ballistics skate shop in Ringwood, buying a skateboard, and they had and I was about, I must have been maybe 14. They had a quarter pipe out the back, probably a 5-footer.
Yeah.
Thought I could just roll up and be like Jeff Rowley or someone and just do a grind, and that ended in absolute tears, where the board flew up, came back down, hit me in the leg, and I said, "Yep, thank you, skateboarding, but not for me." So
really,
and that was it. I was a skateboarder for about 3 minutes. It just as a kid trying to get into different sports. I never really followed or got involved with footy or anything like that. It was always like very rare, but a little bit of tennis, and then thought of skateboarding, and that was probably an encouragement from my folks, and let's just try different stuff as all families do. Mm-hmm. That didn't work, and then through chance, I suppose, BMX came along, which was some old school friends that I used to go to primary school with that I saw at a school fete many years ago, and they're like, "Oh, you should come down to the jumps. We're building some jumps down at the creek."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Which
cool.
creek is this?
This is in Box Hill, so the Eastern Freeway, just behind that on Middleborough Road, there was a spot that this kid called Honeyman was building jumps. He's a local Box Hill legend.
Yep.
I didn't even have a BMX. I had a purple Apollo Summit 26-inch mountain bike that I went down there and checked it all out, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. There's all these kids in this habitat that is off grid sort of thing, and they're just down there building jumps with a shovel and calling them names, and it worked really well.
Yeah, because it is a funny sort of time, because in the 80s I feel like everyone had BMXs, but then in the 90s everyone kind of had mountain bikes. Like, it wasn't like everyone just had a BMX. You had a BMX for a bit of a throwback. So I guess you grew up with the mountain bike instead of the BMX.
Yeah, we, and when I say we, like my brother Leon and I were very, passionate about BMX.
And how close are you guys?
So he's 4 years younger than me, and also another brother Vaughan, who's 6 years younger than me. So being in the same house, I was the sort of like the pilot man who said, "All right, well, we'll try this." That didn't work, and then BMX comes along, and Leon and I really it was not only the BMX but also the mateship that was being formed and stuff like that, and the almost like rebellion of being able to do something different like that. But 80s BMX and stuff like that, it was really not even on our radar. Obviously we'd seen BMX Bandits and stuff like that and knew of it, and that's the classic. But I'm sure, and there definitely is, but like guys well before me and us in our era, which was sort of like the 1995 through to 2005 era, where it was just, that was all you did.
Yep.
I mean, I got my license when I was about 20, but I didn't drink any piss until I was like 21. It was all just BMX. So we we sort of got into it through just seeing videos and stuff like that, which were bought. So there was no YouTube, obviously, or Instagram where you had a phone and you could just, full VHS vids that you'd have to go to a shop. So our first video we ever bought was from, I think it was Tunstall Square, a bike store up there near Doncaster. And that was Props Best of BMX Freestyle and Race 1996. And that was a game changer. I remember buying it.
Sounds like a funny name, though. It's not called like skate videos. They just call it like piece of shit or something. But that's actually like got the...
No, there was a company in America called Props. Mm-hmm. So it was two guys, and they held the scene down from an American point of view. So as BMX, especially in America, was really getting a rebirth, and there was a lot of competitions and a lot of sponsorship money and stuff like that within the American scene.
Second wave sort of thing?
Yeah.
Like the 80s had its wave, then mid-90s was the second wave?
Yeah. There was an old video, like these old BMX vids that Eddie Roman made, Ride On and Hammer Time or something like that, where they're saying like BMX is dead, and there was funny clips of them burying, bikes in almost like a cemetery or something like that. But then, yes, think sponsorship cash, and also just it was right time, right place. It was very similar to with skateboarding. X Games, 100%. Yeah, it was probably a reason too. So we, this Props BMX video magazine, which came out on VHS, they did like almost like monthly vids where they would have like a scene check from North Carolina, and then they'd have the Hoffman, comp or something like that from Oklahoma. They'd do a spot check. They'd do parts and stuff like that. Yep. And Leon and I would watch that video on repeat every day for 6 hours, and then emulate that. And that was the first one that was like, wow, this is like a whole scene. The colours, the bikes, the attitude, the music, like all of it, like old school punk bands like called Alligator Gun that I'd never heard of ever. That's still like I've still got the CDs. I've still got that tape actually at home, the very first one. And from that shop, and Cycle Science in Mitcham was another shop, just buying more VHSs, and that's where we sort of got the passion and the bit of a understanding of we wanted to make our own vids. Yep. As well. So there was only really one other sort of dude who was from South Australia called Zolly, who was making videos as well. His videos still to this day are iconic. He's one of my absolute stars on the scene. I've never met him, but huge cred for Zolly and his
big
scene
in Adelaide.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, these videos that they had over there were cool. Normal video comes in a plastic box, plastic shrink wrap with just a normal video. Volatile Visions was the name of the brand that were making these vids, and they came in like this hemp sack that was like stitched up.
Yeah, wow.
So it was like completely different. So much more care and effort went into like the production value of it, the music, everything hit different. And he was like the guy to me, and when I say me, I'd always had a fascination with video and photography and things like that. So we started making our own sort of videos as well to document the Melbourne scene. And that was just our guys, our crew that we would all get together and sort of just do jumps and film it. But Volatile Visions, were a huge part of the Australian scene when it comes to the birth of video production, inspiration, and the riders that came out of that scene were like a long way away, a long way away in my mind in terms of how good they were.
And that was specifically for Adelaide, or they covered more of the country as well?
No, they covered parts of the country. So they had not so much like competitions and stuff like that they would go to, but they would just film everything. And this guy Zolly, his editing style was awesome. Like he would use Aussie music, Test Eagles, and all these other cool bands, Fugelman, like that I'd never heard of, but now a part of my rotation in what I listen to.
Yep.
And they would probably almost equate to some of like the Oz hip hop sort of scene as well, where you'd watch them, and they had people from Sydney. They had like obviously a fair South Australian, not a huge amount of Melbourne, but like a lot of outstanding riders, and the tricks were crazy, and that really inspired us to make our own vids.
For sure. And I'm guessing people were doing it in the 80s, but on a different sort of scale. So in the 90s, that was there wasn't much going on. There was just the Adelaide guys, and then you're like, well, we're going to have to do something for Melbourne.
Yeah. There was different scenes in different states but again, it was all whispers because there's no internet. Obviously, there's no official Herald Sun newsletter going out where you could sort of see what people are doing at any one stage.
Is there a BMX mag though, doing like a slam mag or something like that sort of
thing? I'm thinking back then there wasn't there was a few BMX mags, but they were all American based. So BMX Plus was the big magazine. But over here, there was a start of an absolute scene where there was a few magazines. 2020 BMX magazine, Rebel Yell. Chris Polak did a really well presented magazine, and of course, one of my guys, Coops, Cooper Brownlee, shout out, who birthed the origin of Focal Point zine. So there was a little bit, but we didn't really have a huge back catalogue of videos from the 80s or 90s to watch prior in Australia. Clint Miller and his crew, who owns Colony, had their own proddy videos up out of Queensland. And they inspired, I'm sure, like another crew called Drain Kids, who were from the Brisbane sort of scene, who made outstanding street vids. Mm-hmm. But we took a lot of the inspiration from either these props video mags that came out all the time, or the Volatile Visions, vids that were coming out, which, had very, very early day footage of really well-respected and well-known street figures and dirt guys like Kim Grosser, Mick Bazand, Dwayne Golding. Like awesome dudes, and also really fun to watch and be inspired by.
Yep. So street BMX is sort of birthed out of the jumps sort of scene as well. So does it follow a similar passage as like street skateboarding in that same sort of timeline, or were people jumping downstairs and handrails before they were doing it on skateboards?
No. So I wouldn't know exactly the correlation. I know the first ever like handrail done in America was by Matt Hoffman, or that I ever saw, was on a video, and it's probably a 15 starer on I think it's a bloody Haro freestyler or something that he's doing it on, and it's balls out. And that's when he being Matt Hoffman, was starting to do a lot of like really high end vert tricks like flares and crazy stuff like that. But I remember probably in the early 2000s, like 411 Video Mag, Kareem Campbell, dudes like this with like fisheye lenses right up close with like a Moby soundtrack behind them doing kickflip to whatever kind of grind in real slow-mo to the music. And I'm like, this is like epically well made in terms of how they do these skate vids.
Yep.
But there was never I suppose a time where street was more prominent than anything else, because there was no skate parks back then either. That's the thing. Like there was probably 5 or 6 skate parks in Melbourne. Like if that, there was Fitzy Bowl, Old Ringwood Bowl, which got pushed in, Old Knox. You could count them on a hand. Lilydale Bowl. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't many.
Camberwell came out about like 99 or something like that. So that there wasn't, and that was the first concrete one within the sort of city area.
Yeah, there was just such a limited amount. I remember when Camberwell Skate Park was built, fundamentally. We, being our small crew, had a massive impact on how Box Hill Skate Park was built, where the council did a day, I remember, at Blackburn Square, where they wanted input. Yeah. We all went down and said, no, this is how you should build it, this is what you should do, and they're all down there with pads and pens, like taking really, really insightful notes. There was just, 10% of what there is nowadays back then. So you could do probably one of 3 things. You could go to one of those skate parks, and that, I suppose, in its very early days was, well, who's there, and the respect and the mutual respect of BMX and skate, where you didn't want to tread on toes. I remember very early days, like Fitzy Bowl was always a place where you just wouldn't rock up and act like, you could just have a sesh. It was known as a skateboard spot, much like Burnside and FDR in America are, where we went to in 2005.
Definitely talk about that. Get to that part of the story.
So we've through BMX we've seen the world. Like we've been so blessed to go everywhere with our crew. The thing was, so you go to a skate park and you could ride that, but it'd have to be at like 6 a.m. Or you could, street really wasn't a thing because like with anything, you'd probably see that people are trying to emulate what they see from their heroes, and I don't think that had sort of come in officially in like the late 90s sort of thing. Yep. So it was trails. It was building your own dirt jumps. That was the big thing. There was trails everywhere, and you would do BMX racing. So that's where I sort of cut my teeth and met a few of the crews and the different chapters around Victoria was through BMX racing.
Because you're always travelling doing it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So yeah, from the purple Apollo Summit mountain bike that I had when I was a teenager at about 16, I wanted to take up BMX racing because of these props videos that were like, this is crazy. So I went to Ivanhoe Cycles in Ivanhoe, obviously, at the time, because they moved down the road to Heidelberg. But I bought a Mongoose Expert 96, 1-inch head stem, chrome, cost about $350. I still remember rolling it out of the shop with my dad, who was our biggest supporter by far. Yep. Yeah, rest in peace, Dad. But he was like vicariously living through us, I reckon. He was, like just seeing how we were enjoying it. BMX is so left field in terms of something to get into, like none of our crew were ever into like footy club scene or cricket scenes and stuff like that.
Which
Not
would
that
have
there's
been
anything
big
wrong
out
with
in
it.
those suburbs too.
Yeah,
would have been a lot of culture about that stuff.
Yeah, we got a lot of like ton of mates in our Box Hill sort of scene that are part of that, and that's great. That's them. Yeah. But we were always like doing this BMX stuff and sort of like these little rebels rolling around, and the amount of people that would like see you when you're like, because none of us drove. Like we were all literally on bikes with wheelbarrows, a lawnmower in the wheelbarrow, 5 shovels, a pickaxe, and like just walking around the streets, and everyone would be like, what the hell are you guys doing? It's like, oh, we're just going down to the jumps. They're like, the jumps? All right, see ya. Off they go. And we were sort of like this crew that was almost like semi-mysterious, where we're just going into the bush, building jumps and, wrecking ourselves. And, they were some of the best times, building jumps.
It's cool that your dad was into it, because a lot of parents would have been like, it's a bit dangerous, it's a bit left of field. Why don't you go and play cricket? Why don't you play soccer? Why don't you play footy, But he was cool.
No, he loved it. Yeah, so when I got this Mongoose Expert, we signed up to Park Orchard's BMX track. So that was the closest one to us, growing up in Box Hill, 15-minute drive, give or take. And they had clubbies and stuff like that on a Saturday. And it was a social day where, there was a barbecue going on, a few races, try and do a few big jumps. And from that race, we started to sort of like network and go around to different club meets. Reason being is that even before we got into this, Leon, my dad, and I went out to Lilydale BMX track for the Victorian state titles. That was the big sort of like wow moment in Victoria.
To watch or to compete?
To watch.
Yeah, okay.
So this props vid, which was the catalyst to begin it all, was like, all right, well, where's this happening in Victoria? And we found this state titles, which was around November. This is a long time ago. This is 1997, maybe 96. But it was like, holy shit, this is crazy. Marquees set up, megaphone, track announcers, all the riders from around Victoria. And Lilydale was a track that was like pretty well known, but it had the biggest jump in Victoria. It was called the Canyon.
Okay.
So on the second straight, it was a 30-foot double. Wasn't even a jump. It was like just 2 mounds. And
so you had to clear it?
You didn't have to, but the dudes that went big would give it a crack, and there was a few of them. I remember the first time I ever saw anyone. It was very limited to see people doing it, but like Reynold McQueen, who's a pillar of the Geelong ballerine sort of community, he was there. He did it. He jumped it, no troubles. And I'm a kid, and I'm going, this is crazy. Like this is like, what is this? Took a photo of it. Like I think I had it on my wall at one point.
Because there's no margin for error with that sort of stuff. You've got to hit at the right speed. You've got to get your trajectory right. Otherwise, you're going to really...
Oh, you're gone. Yeah. You're gone. Like, and you'll damage your bike. But it was like a real boss move for these dudes jumping this jump. There was like, if there was 50 races, there was probably 3 dudes that jumped it. Okay. That was it. Yeah, and another guy called Grant Rush. He was like to us, like a real, just balls out. Would just go hit every jump. Any jump in Victoria, dirt jump. Yeah, he did it. He did it ages ago.
Yep.
Jumps that aren't even jumps. Yeah, he did that. It's like, what? Yeah. So, and he was a racer, a little bit older than us. But, he was, he was huge in terms of seeing what was possible, and we would just go to those races and then start to evolve around greater Melbourne and then into Victoria. So you'd go to Shepparton, you'd go to Bendigo, and the race was one thing, but also whilst you're there, we would sort of befriend people at the track and they'd go, oh, we've got jumps, they're just up the road. And that's where we met some of the guys from Shepparton, Bendigo, where they had their own scenes going on, which was crazy, and jams, and just a wonderful vibe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
And I guess with that, at that time in the mid to late 90s, the popularity's kicking off, obviously, with, like we said, X Games has become, and there's the internet's not really a thing, but it's starting to become a thing, which is helping all these little underground scenes kind of pop off a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. No. The first X Games I recall was like, I think it was a single for dirt jump. It was like, and Jimmy Levan, this BMX rider from America, was wearing like Kiss makeup or something like that, or that might have even been in the second one. But he does like this big bar hop, and Jay Miron's there, this Canadian legend, and he's just doing tricks and the jump was just you just bang at it as quick as you could. But again, it might have even been on Channel 10 TV or something like that. Yeah, that there was snippets, very small snippets of this stuff coming through.
But that's it. Like, I think around the mid 90s, Foxtel or cable TV becomes a thing, and you could watch the whole X Games, which was really cool as well. So you were seeing a little bit more of it.
Yeah.
You couldn't get it on the internet yet because you were struggling to even download a picture, but that it was starting. You could see more stuff, and I'm sure that was like the case with the BMX stuff as well, and X Games in general.
Yeah, no, there was like a few things like that, but also there was more videos coming out of America.
Yep.
That was the other big thing. So all still VHS, DVDs were still years away, and then obviously even with the internet. But a video that was very important to the whole BMX scene of that mid-school era would have been Criminal Mischief, called Seek and Destroy.
Yep.
That's, if you asked 50 BMX riders from my age, and I'm 42 now, I'd say a large majority would say, Seek and Destroy was one of the vids that really put BMX on the map in terms of like lifestyle. It correlated pretty close to when the CKY videos were coming out with Bam Majera and Raab himself and all that sort of classic scene. But the writing style, the music soundtrack, like still to this day, I know every single trick and every single soundbite on that vid, even though it came out something like 23 years ago, sort of thing. Yeah,
it's interesting you say the lifestyle stuff because, there was a lot of things coming out at that time where you would see, oh, this is what they do when they're not skating. You know what I mean? Or they're not riding bikes.
Yep.
This is what they're doing. They're actually just being dickheads. They're drinking. They're hanging out. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. So, that is kind of interesting to see that sort of stuff. And that wasn't happening as much in the earlier years until that sort of late 90s kind of thing.
Yeah, no, we had massive inspiration from like the Little Devil Crew was the name. They're the people that made the Seek and Destroy video. Yep. There was a couple of videos starting to pop up around sort of Melbourne around that sort of time frame as well. So that's like the early 2000s. A couple of videos coming out of Bendigo. There was another crew out of Cranbourne. The Redivo brothers. They were putting out some really quality stuff as well. So it was like everyone was inspired at the same time, and we would all just sort of, again, pre-internet, just sort of know somehow to go to these jams, which would be word of mouth. And then, when the internet started coming through, that's when everything sort of changed, I'd say. And that's sort of...
message boards and forums and stuff.
Yeah, forums and this is even pre-Facebook. And I remember, like, ICQ and MSN Messenger and all these sort of things where, like I remember randomly trying to message, like, one of our heroes overseas on, I think it was, ICQ and getting a reply overnight or something like that. It was crazy. But the inspiration from the vids and like seeing how these guys operated was like, to me, they were like gods. You know what I mean? They were the most stylish dirt riders, guys out of Pennsylvania, and also people out of South Australia, like Kim Grosser and Mick Bazan, who had all these crazy setups and sort of like step-ups in Gawler and these crazy rhythm sections in Raynella, South Australia, that you'd watch it and you go, this is just the best thing ever. And that inspired us to make vids. Yep. So I was fortunate that our parents and my dad especially, he worked at Telstra. So we didn't have a video camera back in the day, but he would hire a video camera, and it was literally one of those old VHS video.
Dad cam.
The dad cam. This thing was huge. You'd need a shoulder Ricoh.
Did it take the full VHS?
Full VHS tape. Yeah, that was the first thing. This thing was massive. Yeah.
But that's cool because you can pull it straight out and watch it when you get home. That is the cool thing, you know.
Yeah. That was the first foray into sort of like capturing footage. Yeah. So we would film our BMX races with either that big boy, or he started to then evolve into using a smaller camcorder which had VHS-C tapes, so just a smaller tape that then slotted into a VHS cassette. So it's all the different sort of paraphernalia that went into the video scene. And I've listened to a lot of your podcasts, and it's much the same in like the music scene where dudes are doing roll to roll and things like that, and it was exactly the same for the videos where, like I remember the first video we ever made was a vid called Aussie Battlers. Never made it to market. It's a one of one that one of one.
You've got in your personal collection.
Yeah. The front cover's that Randall McQueen jumping that canyon jump in Lilydale.
Oh, cool.
But that was 2 VHSs with just cables in between. Play, pause, record. Play, pause, record. And it goes for like an hour and a half. Like it must have taken 5 months to edit this thing every day. Like it's...
Did you put music to it as well?
Oh, yeah, heaps of music.
How did you do the music to that? If you've got them to... You just had another audio...
Yeah, we'd have... Yeah, so the RCA cables, we just have different cables running. And as we were doing this, my dad was very much... He's an engineer by trade, and he was like, oh, yeah, just plug this in here and plug that in there. And, that's where that sort of was inspired from. And through us making our own videos, we made one which was just us mucking around in the trails, to the next one which was, all right, there's a few different scenes around Melbourne and Victoria, and we would film them and bring them in, and everything was under the moniker BHP, was our crew, which stands for Box Hill Pride, which we obviously grew up in Box Hill. I was thinking about it. We got the name BHP because when I was at school, at primary school, there were these guys that were a bit older than us that were right near the primary school, and it was like literally the first tag that I'd ever seen. They had Box Hill Posse, massive writing. It was like 2 metres by 2 metres. And they'd listen to like, Angry Anderson, Smoke Darts, like a full bogan sort of setup. Yeah. And this gate was really high. I had no idea what they were doing in the background, but they were like a bit of an inspiration, like BHP. I'm like, all right, we'll just take the posse and we'll put it into Pride and make our own vids. And that was where, sort of like the second video that we made, or like there was a couple, but Evidence was the name of the video, and that had a lot of, and that was 2001.
Yep.
And that had footage from like Bendigo, street sections, dirt. It was a combination of everything. So everything by then was popping off in Melbourne, where it wasn't, just one specific genre. And we'd challenge ourselves. We'd go around all parts of Victoria just on a whim, just on a gut feel. Let's try and find some new rails to hit. Let's try and find some new dirt jumps. And you'd literally go to a park and have heard of these trails, and you're just looking for a single line about 30 centimetres wide where other trail riders have ridden in, and you're like, I reckon that's where they are. And you just sort of,
you look for the clues.
Yeah, you look for the clues. Yeah, exactly. So
you look for the evidence.
That's it.
So were you using the dad cam at this stage, or you've leveled up to your own sort of camera?
Yeah, we started to get real. So we'd gotten rid of the VHS-C tapes. Now everything's mini DV.
Yep.
And
they got a lot cheaper around then as well.
Yeah, we started. So we had a few cameras through the journey, but the first real one that we got was a Sony VX1000E. So the skater's dream camera with the handle. Yeah.
And you can get down low. Yeah.
Yep.
It's got the mic boom on it. You can get that. Yeah.
I felt like I owned the country holding that thing. It was we purchased like a fisheye lens. So we bought that second hand out of the trading post, I think it was. Yeah. So from somewhere, and we'd film, and those mini DV tapes that we had, you had to try and do something with them. So we had what was called a Buzz capture card, which was the first digital capture card that we'd ever had on a computer. So we went from doing tape to tape video to actually doing stuff on a computer. And that was still analog input. So you'd have to get all the cables and plug it in and play record. And this computer's just chugging like it's in, 8th gear going up a hill. This thing is dying.
And it's just like a Pentium sort of whatever it was then.
No, it wouldn't even load in today's era. But somehow you'd make vids and you'd edit them. So the editing side of things was very much what I was into. So Leon and I collaboratively made all the videos together. And I
were you pushing each other with writing as well, though?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you're older by 4 years.
Yeah.
So you're obviously a bit stronger, a bit bigger before he is. So are you leading the way?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, like as any older brother. And there was guys in our scene that I would also look up to as like older brothers. Like there was a guy called Shift, Daniel Broman, who was like the first OG sort of Box Hill rider. Everyone was, as per all mateship crews, he was just a bloke who had a Shift T-shirt. That's what he'd wear. It's known as Shift forever.
You only get one chance.
That's it. Yeah, no, he was a legend. He tried the jumps before anyone. Him and his brother Xavier. They were great dudes, and still see Shift here and there. Yeah. But yeah, we would all push each other to the nth degree. Like it was crazy the amount of collaborative effect. No one was trying to one up each other. That was just not part of our scene. Like the Box Hill Pride scene was definitely not, oh, you did it, I'm just going to do that trick but do it one bit better. It was like, no, you own this, go and do it, try it. There was some rails that we went to 3 or 4 times to not do. I remember in our videos going to Geelong and driving down there to try and do a rail, and not like a grind, but to jump over a rail. I remember driving down there 4 or 5 times and just, like bitching it, couldn't do it. I'm like, it was pretty deadly. Probably still is, if I'm being serious, where it was just a clear run up and you had to gap about 30 foot, give or take, and there was a rail, you had to jump over it. So if you hit it, you're gone. But if you make it, it was I did, which was a plus.
Is that on the evidence video?
Nah, that's on the last video we made. So that's called Meet Your Enemies.
Yep.
So in all, we made 3, very well-rounded videos showcasing the Melbourne and Victorian scenes. So
when you say well-rounded, you talk about different disciplines in BMX, or you're talking about just different areas of Melbourne?
Both. Okay. Yeah, both. So there's a video called Darkest Hour, which was the first video that we did, and that was sort of fairly chunky in terms of like the footage, a lot of like just us doing our thing like internally. Then there was Evidence, where we got real and we had like the VX1000 camera. And then Meet Your Enemies was the sort of the final one which we pulled out, which this year will be 20-year anniversary of that vid. But we had a VX1000, and then we had to sort of like retire that because it had this thing called Digital Scramble, where the tapes were recording, but when you'd play it back, it was all a bit sort of like chunky and was like skipping a bit sort of thing. So we couldn't use a lot of it.
What was that? What was doing?
It was to do with the heads within the video camera, that there was just, they were just, stuffed, and you could take
Probably
it.
Dropped it a couple of times.
Yeah, I'd had a good life, and whoever we bought it from the trading post had a good one too. So, and then we upgraded, where was it? It was a Tasman AV. I remember in Richmond where we bought it was a TRV 950 it was called, which was a DV cam. So it was even better quality. Yep. So we wanted to, sort of upscale our footage and make sure that we were putting out some, like the best version of what we could.
Yep.
So we went down there and, bought that, and that was cool. And that was the camera that, I still have today, that I've actually been capturing all of the old footage that we've got on tape. So we've got 200 odd tapes, I think, 60 minutes each that I'm methodically going through with a Shiraz or a cold tin late at night when the kids go to bed, and just going, all right, what's this tape? Put it in.
You're not editing it, you're just digitising it?
Just capturing it, yeah.
Yeah, which is cool. You could go back and edit it when you want to.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of footage there already. Being as it's 20 years since this video Meet Your Enemies came out that we put out, which is available on YouTube for anyone that cares to watch. If you've got a DVD player, I'll send you a copy if you want.
We'll put a link in the description here.
We hold an event every year, but this year being the 20-year anniversary of this video, all the boys getting back together in my shed, and we'll all just, crack tins and watch old footage of ourselves and have a laugh at each other at our expenses. Yeah.
Basically. So the 20-year anniversary now, but if we're getting back onto the timeline, late 90s, early 2000s, is there shop sponsorship or anything happening like that sort of stuff? Is there purpose? Like, obviously, the cycling stores you're talking about, early 90s, they're not specifically BMX at that stage. They're just bike shops.
Yep.
So do BMX-specific shops start popping up in the late 90s?
Yeah, there was, so strictly BMX was always the big
That
shop.
was next door to Camberwell Skate Park.
Yeah. So they'd positioned themselves in a few areas. So they were in Collingwood to start off with. Right. So they were the first sort of, obviously, dedicated BMX store, but they were importing stuff from America. They had team riders coming through from overseas through their shop.
95, 96 sort of thing?
It'd have to be, probably even maybe a bit earlier.
Yep.
Don't know exact dates, but there was a couple of guys that started that. And they, that was an institution. Yeah, strictly BMX. That was, the shop where as a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old sort of thing, you'd go there and people that are slightly older that you'd look up to in the scene, they'd either be working there or they'd be in there just hanging out.
Yep.
And a lot of them that became friends and acquaintances. There was guys like Lindsay Brown, Al Briotti, who was their first team rider, who changed the scene in terms of how they rode, and really they were the guys that we really looked up to, including Reynold McQueen, who we looked up to from a sort of a bike shop sort of point of view, and everyone was buying bikes from there, but sponsorship was non-existent.
Really? Didn't exist? Even if
not
you're
from
making
our scene.
videos and stuff?
No, not from our scene. I remember famously once sending off a letter to Duff's Shoes asking for free shoes that I still cop shit for some of my crew.
You could have picked a better brand than Duff's.
Yeah, no, Duff's. Like they had these sort of oat-looking shoes that were sick. So, but still waiting on the letter back, Duff's, if you're listening. So, cheers. But no one really had no one in our crew was sponsored, but no one was looking for it. It was just about waking up early, going out riding until 6 p.m, coming home, watching the footage, having a laugh, getting a pizza. That was it. It was so primitive. We weren't riding and then getting on the piss and stuff like that. That was later in the scene.
Yeah.
But there was a culture and a few guys in Melbourne that were sponsored. They would have had flow through American distributors.
Yeah.
Or through, like Stowaway Distribution, which is one of the first sort of Adelaide-based distros that were bringing in some of the good brands like FBM and stuff like that. So you could count them on one hand who had actual sponsorship.
Yeah.
And they would be through shops like Lindsay Brown and like what I was saying, where they'd probably get a bike or something like that, and that's it. No paid.
Well, pre-internet, how do you get yourself out there? You have to literally go to where the industry is and try and prove yourself by riding there, you know what I mean? Like, you can't really... Now, people can... Oh, yeah, I can get sponsorship through Instagram. That wasn't fucking happening. So you had to go and actually make that happen overseas, I'm guessing.
No, you had to, like... No riders were really actively getting massive flow from anyone in Victoria. Yeah. That's just the way it was, or even in Queensland and stuff like that. So Queensland had a thriving scene. There was some pioneers that went over early to America, like Colin McKay, who was on the first ever cover of 2020 BMX magazine. Stevie McCann was another guy. Those two, even Mike Daly, who was from Sydney, they were the pioneers for Australia. They went over first. And even Clint Miller, of course, who's always been actively involved overseas in either America or Europe.
Was it a spin out for you to see those guys who are making it over there?
It was respect. Yeah, like again, this is very early days where again the internet is not a massive thing. People just having a crack, leaving their lives, leaving their jobs, leaving their living, and then just going, I want to go overseas and see if I can make it as a professional, which is obviously professional is to get paid by a BMX company to travel around and to ride, and that's the dream, like for some.
Yep.
So yeah, Colin McKay was the first guy ever. I've never met him, but I haven't.
Melbourne or just Australia?
No, he's from Queensland. I have met him. He came to the Eltham squash courts once upon a time to ride, which is one of the spots that we'd built.
Yes.
And he was also on a party boat once upon a time that he was a guest of one of the guys that I know. So yeah, he carried Australia incredibly well.
Yep.
He killed it. He was really progressive.
Kicked open the door for a few other people.
Yeah, him and Stevie McCann, in my eyes, were the two that went over there and really made a name for Australian riders. There was a whole back catalogue of crew over here who could have. Absolutely. Guys.
But it's a big jump to make to just back yourself,
and you got to find a home. You've got to figure out how you're going to get from A to B. America's obviously not a small place, so comps are not just in one spot. But
California's still the sort of mecca, though.
Yeah, always. There was S&M bicycles were over there. There was a few, sort of rider-owned companies and things like that, and also big-time companies like Specialized and other Mongoose, for example, that were looking to sponsor. So yeah, it just worked out well, and that's around that sort of like 2000 era mark, I'd say, is when we saw BMX riders from Vic or from Australia going over to have a crack and go in all of the DK Dirt Circuit series that were all across America. All of the Hoffman comps, CFB comps, everything. Yeah, they were all part of it, and X Games, of course, which was the big one.
Yeah. At that time, was there purpose made like BMX shoes and stuff like there is now? But were you just like riding skate shoes and that sort of thing? Was there like BMX apparel brands, clothing brands, that sort of thing?
So there was a few apparel brands. There was definitely no specific BMX shoe to begin with.
Yep.
So there was one BMX shoe that came in called Orchid, which was owned actually by Little Devil. Mm-hmm. So a guy called Derek Adams from America who owned Little Devil. He was a really good businessman / part of the scene. He's like, we'll make our own shoe. Low Tech was another shoe that came out by a guy named Rich Hirsch from Portland, but they weren't massive. It was people were just wearing skate shoes. Yeah. They were wearing E's. They were wearing all of those DC style shoes. Yeah. That's what it was, and they just bolt onto those and get sponsored and stuff like that.
Duffs, if they were keen.
No, Duff's not a massive prolific scene, but the other sort of like rider-owned clothing companies and stuff like that were around. But again, very, very minor. Like Play was this big t-shirt brand in America. That's why Volatile Visions were so cool over here, because not only were they making vids and making outstanding quality vids throughout each year and stuff, but they also had a really cool clothing line. So they had vivid colours, really good brand logo. They made wild stuff as well, like these cow shorts that replicated a black and white
the cow print.
Yeah, cow print, like in this fur sort of material. It was not for everyone, but it was like cool, and people would rep them. Yeah, it was sweet. Yep.
So do you, after you start making your videos, are you distributing them into shops and stuff like that, or are you doing the sort of DIY sort of selling them at the skate park, at the comps and stuff?
Yeah, more selling at the skate parks and stuff like that. So the last video we made called Meet Your Enemies came out on DVD, which we did all in-house. We bought a burner at home and just a label maker and printed them and stuff like that. We probably would have made 500 copies, maybe 1,000.
A lot, though.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, no, it was a lot. So we sent them through to a few bike stores. So I used to work at a bike store back in the day, so we sold them there, but also remember writing a letter to a famous BMX distro in America called Dance Comp. So they were the biggest mail order BMX facility ever. So in BMX Plus and all these magazines, it was like 9 pages of ads. They had everything. And I just said, hey, can you distro our video? They said, sure, send them through.
Wow.
Yeah, so we sent probably, 30 copies or something like that over to them, which they all sold out. I think we did 2 runs there, which was cool.
Did you see your DVD in the mag in that section?
I did, yeah.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, yep. No, it's in there. Pretty surreal But again, you never know unless you have a crack.
That's exactly it. And that's the whole thing, the whole DIY. You just do it, right? And if people like it, they like it. If they don't like it, they don't like it. But I think you've just got to try.
Yep.
And that's where I think a lot of people, they say, I was going to do this, I was going to do that. But you didn't. You just got to fucking do it.
Yeah, execution. Big time. I couldn't agree more.
Follow through with it.
Yeah, so we were very very happy to have made this vid, and we had like a premiere and stuff like that. And then I think what was cool as well is Dan's was like the hub for all parts of the world, where I'm sure someone from Brazil owns a copy of Meet Your Enemies because they bought it from Dan's Comp. Yeah. we would buy all of our videos and DVDs because there was not many in Australia. I remember having like the first copy ever of Criminal Mischief, which was Little Devil's second video in Australia, to the point where there was a video premiere at Metro nightclub where they, and I'd go to Goo on a Thursday night and represent there. That was great. Where they needed a copy of this video and they didn't have one, so they borrowed our copy.
Yeah.
Because we had it. Because we were buying stuff off Dan's. Yeah, waiting. I feel like it was like 6 weeks for it to come in the mail and stuff like that. But it's it was all parts of Victoria all coming together for the greater good, which was BMX, and people liked dirt, street, vert, even park, you name it. Everyone had the same absolute passion, which was just to ride and try new tricks and progress.
Yeah. And so then do you look at travelling overseas? Like you said, you went to Burnside, you've done that. So where do you where does BMX take you off the Australian shores?
Yeah, so we travelled in Australia. We'd been up and down, the eastern coast up to, probably Queensland almost maybe on a couple of random trips, but definitely a lot of Canberra, had some really good skate parks. But it was 2004. We went overseas. We went to Canada. And
strong scene there?
Yeah, it was massive. Yeah, it was, and the Pacific Northwest, so like Seattle, Portland, things like that. So, yeah, that was 2004. But, yeah, we flew into Canada. That was the first thing. So getting in there and drinking a 40-ounce, from a 7-Eleven was pretty cool. Bought it for like $3. It tasted horrible, but you downed it anyway because you were there. And, going around to a lot of the skate parks around there. And this is pre-internet where there's no phones, really. There's no... To even call home, you had to... sort of go to a payphone and dial a massive international dialing code and stuff like that.
Get the time zones right.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, going to Canada was an eye-opener to not only see the parks, but also meeting some of the famous riders over there, like Jay Miron, Dave Asado.
They're all welcoming?
100%. Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, I remember meeting Jay Miron, and he was a tight member of the crew for a few days while everyone was going around. And I remember at a pub, I bought him a bourbon and he told me off. He's like, "You're in my fucking town, man. You don't buy me anything." And I'm like, "Yeah, sweet, man. Cool." He's like, "Here." He's just like buying drinks. We had a great time. He was a legend.
Awesome.
A good dude. And from there, going down to Portland and places that had a really thriving trail scene. So we really were keen in that first trip overseas to go there. But yeah, wanting to go to Burnside Skate Park, which was a sort of a dream to have seen BMX Plus or Ride magazine, see it, and off videos. To go there was cool.
And it was on fucking Tony Hawk Pro Skater as well, man.
That's it.
Like a level that you could play in a game and then you could go there in real life. It's pretty fucking cool.
No, it was epic to go there. I remember getting there at about 5:30 in the morning, staying at a hostel close by with me mate Bugsy, Cooper, and Leon, and another guy, Dolly, who were all part of our scene. And going there, and the first takeaway from going to a place like that, from seeing it, is how much bigger it was.
Yep.
Everything on video looks small. Yep. And there's the same with even BMX parts, like on video or photos. It's like, might be able to do that, or someone could probably do that. You go there, you're like, nah, this is crazy big. Yeah. But no, that was a cool place. So
were they welcoming for BMX riders?
We were there so early that there wasn't a lot of people there, because we'd always seen in the mags, go there early and you can get a sesh. There's a few skaters there. They were fine. They were nice. We didn't really talk to many of them, but it was a good icebreaker being overseas with an Aussie accent and just saying, hey, like, we've come over here. We're from Melbourne, Victoria, in Australia. We're here to check out your scene. They're like, awesome, cool.
Yeah. So because it is a bit of that is a very territorial place where they say, oh, you can't just go and skate there, you can't go and ride there unless you're a local and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure it's changed a bit now, but I'm sure it's still a bit like that with some of the locals as well. Yeah,
like, because it's all like hand built, and the labour of love that goes into it, like, it's massive for starters. It's not just a small do-it-yourself thing. It's I would assume decades of love have gone into it to make it what it is and to be so smooth. I can understand why they don't want people chinking up the coping and stuff like that.
Well, that definitely is a thing, because there is that. The skaters generally got pissed off with the BMX guys because the pegs had dint the coping and that sort of thing. So you just got to be respectful, I guess, but it also gives some BMX guys, paints them in a bad light. So when you approach those skate parks, I guess you got to be like, hey guys, we're not going to fuck your shit up. Just let us have a session.
Yeah, no, exactly. Don't be toy about it. Like, and we had an idea of what the place and the places anywhere you go are about. Like, you always just want to do the right thing, be courteous, but have some fun with it too. So yeah, talking to some of the guys who were from these places, FDR and Burnside, where we had been, and we went to FDR a year later, but they've both got a deep-rooted BMX history anyway, where a lot of the pros would go to these areas, so they sort of understood. But yeah, nothing but love. Yeah, it was always good, and yeah, just seeing and meeting idols in Canada was really like amazing, because you'd only seen them on video and in print media, and they were just the loveliest of crew.
Yeah. Burnside is like sort of the poster child of DIY skate parks, and so like, as to the best of my knowledge, that's one of the first ones that kind of people just did themselves and has stood the test of time. So and now there's places like that all over the world. So it'd be awesome to go to something like that.
Man. Yeah. No, it was eye opening, and just how the level of detail that would have to go into it, the mural work on on a lot of the ramps and stuff like that. It was. Yeah, very humbled to have had those opportunities to go. So that was our first trip that we ever went on, which was in 2004.
Yep.
And yeah, rode some of the best trails, on that side of America. Met some awesome people, and just 4 or 5 guys from Melbourne having a good time at hostels, watching ice hockey, drinking coconut Canadian beer, and living it up. It was prime time of our lives as 20-something-year-old guys, and Leon was there, and he's 4 years younger, getting into clubs and stuff like that. Just with my ID sort of thing. So
you go in, pass it back.
Yeah, don't listen to that, Mum. But it was cool. Everyone had a good time. Yeah.
Is it a pain in the ass traveling around with bikes though? Like, like it would be. I could imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to get like a bike box. Like if it was coming from overseas, disassemble it. So you take the pedals off, you take the front wheel off, you twist the bars, or even take them off. Try and squeeze it down into something smaller, duct tape it up, and then go on to the next spot. So, we would have had to have done that 3 or 4 times on that trip, and then even more the trip after, which was so Meet Your Enemies, our BMX vid had come out, and we this was the absolute like popping time in our scene, where we were like that was the pinnacle of it, where the videos have dropped, and now we're overseas riding around. So the next trip we went on in 2005, we went everywhere. We went Tokyo to Dusseldorf University, all around Europe. Went to America again, all in one trip. Did a round the world trip. So,
and at that stage, the internet's a little bit more prominent, so you can reach out to people. Hey, we're coming here. Makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, still didn't. So never reached out to anyone to say we're coming, sort of thing. We only did actually know once. So there were in Austin, Texas. Coops reached out to a guy called Joe Rich, who's a famous BMX rider, has his own brand called Terrible One. We reached out to him to say we were coming to Austin, and he's got back in the day, it's gone now, but they had like a famous ramp set up. So they had an office, and in the back was a massive ramp. They were really the only ones that we said, hey, we're coming. Do you mind if we come and just have a look? Because Coops was very heavily involved in doing his own zine, which was called Focal Point, which was a handmade, orchestrated sort of zine that went out to all parts of Melbourne sort of thing, which was, just done on a Word format document. I've still got the first copy of it.
But it's obviously got pictures and stuff.
But Word art is in it and stuff like that. It's great. Like, nowadays, like Coops, who is the marketing and business guy for Colony, who does his own logos, does everything. Yeah,
got to start somewhere.
That's it. Yep.
That's a whole design aesthetic now. People try and make stuff look like that sort of time.
It was cool. So with the going around on that second trip, we again just you go to a spot and you just say we're from Melbourne, and we had some interesting reactions when we were at Flight Centre of the places we were going. Like we went to Dusseldorf University in Germany, which is just an architectural delight for BMX. Looks like something out of Tony Hawk, where we just literally went to that university to ride a coping, and that was it. Or not a coping, a quarter pipe.
I've seen that,
Yeah, so that was epic. and then through to Barcelona, which had a thriving BMX scene, and that's like been and much for skate as well. Like if you ask people where's the spot, Barcelona is it, and I couldn't agree more from a street point of view.
Yeah, and you can take your bike on the train there and stuff as well. Yeah, so you can get around. You don't have to worry about pulling it all apart.
Nah, it was friendly. Like it was, just to see all those spots out of the skate vids and BMX vids and stuff like that. It was, Barcelona was taking the piss when it comes to spots. Like it was just everywhere, and it's pretty flat in a lot of spots, so it's really friendly to get around on. And just a really good vibe. Loved it.
Are you still filming on these trips?
Yeah, still filming. We didn't use the footage for anything particular.
Yeah.
I've still got all the footage. So there's about 8 tapes of the world trips. But again, that's just for ourselves. Like the amount of pride that I have in looking at all of our old tapes and just going, it's remarkable to go to all these spots. Different eras, but like watching all this footage, everyone's so in the moment. Like no one's on no one's got a phone. Everyone's just walking around the shops, looking in the windows. Like it's like a different world.
Yeah.
In the early 2000s, and obviously stuff changes, and it's awesome to have Instagram and social media presence now. But it was a different world in the early 2000s.
And BMX in general is ramping up there. People are trying crazier tricks. In that early 2000s, it progresses a lot, doesn't it?
Oh, it ramped up crazy. Yeah, like not only from American vids, but also our internal crew. Like there was guys like Dean Lucas, who was doing tricks where his bars were X'd up, so he wasn't riding in a straight line. He'd turn his bars around the other way and hold them like this, and then ride. And he was very much known for that style of trick. People were doing cutting edge stuff at skate parks. So more skate parks are now starting to be built. So Camberwell, as you said, Diamond Creek Skate Park. There's parks everywhere virtually that our guys that we used to ride and hang out with would all go there and try and do stuff that would just be known for almost like a legacy piece. So back coping at Diamond Creek Skate Park, Dean Lucas, aka Bombfunk, 2-peg that to jump over. I don't think I've ever seen that again. 20-something years later, I'd be
really?
like there's stuff like that was that's what I take fondness with, is just all of our guys that we rode with just pushing each other, not competitively but believing in each other and saying
sounds like a real positive sort of vibe.
It was cool.
Is that just you guys because you're positive dudes, or do you think that the BMX scene in general was kind of positive?
I think it was all very positive. I think it was different crews who were really excited to get together with each other because they could see that you could ride, and they could also see that you didn't mind having a beer afterwards and having a bit of a yak and talking, sort of thing, or going out. So, I still fondly have really tight mates up in Bendigo. They had a thriving BMX scene, that Flags, who's one of the, the sort of figureheads of the Bendigo scene, still a very close mate, Louis and Ev and stuff like that from Bendigo that, 25 years later. I remember meeting all those guys at a BMX race, when I was, must have been 17 or something, 16. And then they're like, oh, we've got some trails. And we drive there, my dad would drive us, and they're called the 20G trails in Strathfieldsay. They're like, oh, tomorrow we're having a jam. It's like, yeah, cool, we'll come along. Get there, and every BMX rider in Victoria is there. Just dudes from Myrtleford through to Benalla, you name it, sort of thing. So you'd all ride really hard. Everyone got along with each other. There was no beef ever.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say not that was huge. I think there was, with anything, a little bit of competitive sort of angle that someone would do something. It's far out, that was sick. I wish I could do that sort of thing. But there was rarely, if ever, any punch-ons between crews. Definitely not within our crew, that's for sure. You'd wrestle when you were on the piss and stuff like that, and that's all part of the Aussie lifestyle. But nothing ever. It was all just everyone was in the right spot at the right time to really enjoy what was BMX as it was growing from being an 80s style, sort of discipline. There's not many parks. The bikes are fundamentally horrendous to ride. They're all bad angles to do tricks on and stuff like that. And
so the technology makes a big difference.
yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. So yeah, and it just was probably, and speaking out of school because it wasn't part of my era, but it's just something that probably weren't even looking for back then. It was just they had bikes, they were epic, and they were happy just riding them around and doing what they did on them. But then as the American scene really popped, like with anything, we wanted to emulate it. We'd see videos like Seek and Destroy and Criminal Mischief and Blueprint and all these other vids in America, and we're like, holy shit, this is what we want to be like. So let's build jumps in the middle of the bush. Let's wake up at like 5:30 and get on a train and go out to Diamond Creek trails
because they were dad drivers.
Yeah, those he wouldn't. Yeah, no, I remember going out to Diamond Creek because Diamond Creek had the best BMX trails in Victoria. Or one of the most famous spots.
DIY or they're purpose built?
No, DIY. Everything was DIY.
Everything.
Yep. They were one of the most famous spots. They were on a train line, and we would just go out there. I remember going there leaving at about 5:30, checking them out, and coming back to our trails and digging by about 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, like digging hard all day. And it was the amount of stuff you could get done because of the passion and because everyone was assisting each other in, pushing each other, try and do more tricks, do bigger jumps, build bigger trails, build some crazy stuff. And then from there, you would have other crews come to your jumps and then, sort of just randomly pop up. Yeah, how you going? Where are you from? Oh, from Dandenong or something like that. All right, cool. Yeah, what's your name? My name's Michael Bowes, for example, who's a guy that very much was part of our crew. But that's how you meet people back then, was just, through chance.
Yeah. You mentioned the squash courts before. Do you want to break that down? I know it's a bit of a pivotal place for a lot of different things. I know it was a spot for graffiti riders, a spot for people to hang out, but also for the BMX stuff as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an iconic spot. So in Eltham, sort of Montmorency sort of area, wherever it was, just off Para Road there, Greensey. When we were always looking for spots to film, we would just randomly drive around. And the squash courts is something that we had stumbled across. It was a Darrow old squash recreational centre there through the council or something that was just ghetto as. It was just square rooms, dim lit, all made of wood with clean walls. Bomb Funk and a guy Nugs and a couple of the other guys who were in Pirate Mafia, that they've gone off and done their own thing. But they've all been tight and, for close to almost 28 years or something like that. But that was the birth of that joint, as far as I'm concerned.
They found it?
I reckon we all found it at the same time.
Okay.
I recall Nugs maybe finding it, and there was a few graph pieces there, but nothing. It wasn't blown up. And then over time, people in a very short amount of time, the Eltham guys, the Island crew as they were called, so Bomb Funk and Nugs and Morph and Randy and Casey, these guys who lived out that way, built these amazing sort of BMX setups. And so there was like bank to wall rides, and there was a few quarter pipes.
Whatever they could get,
and the plywood was there, so they were ripping up other rooms, other rooms, and just taking it from one room to another. And at that time, obviously graph was not even like definitely not on my radar. But some amazing pieces. I remember seeing Deeks do a piece down there, Puzzle, things like that. And I remember vividly like Leon and Nugs, like just eyes open, like this is a different world. This is very cool. What is this sort of thing? And then they were, that was almost like when they started to take a real artist inspiration and wanting to do, sort of a bit of graph and again, seeing others. And I've got footage of all of that, footage of dudes, doing the pieces and, over time, that place was there for a while. Yeah. And so over time, even like we were saying earlier, like Colin McKay came down there. I think that ended up in a BMX magazine. Cool. You can see like on the back of where he's doing a trick, it says Morph, more death than you'll ever be. So like Morph was one of the guys that, had helped build down there. And he was getting shout outs in mags in the background. It's like, this is quite funny.
So someone just sort of Jimmy'd open the door, you could just go in and out, or you had to try and fucking break in every time you wanted to go hang out there?
Nah, it was open. You didn't have to, kick any door. It was open, but it was shut, if that makes sense. So you just, like everyone there knew what it was, so they didn't take the piss. There wasn't any super loud music or fires or fireworks or anything like that. It was like, this is a spot that is ours. Let's not spoil it. And especially from a BMX point of view, that like when it comes to building jumps, you always want to be incredibly respectful to the area. Keep the noise down, keep the litter down. Obviously don't do anything sus down there.
Don't shit where you eat.
Exactly. So that had resonated really well with the squash courts. And I remember, many heavy sessions down there. I think we slept there one night.
Was there power there?
No.
No. So So if you were going to go there at night time, it was going to be like...
Oh, scary as. Yeah, scary. It was like some old abandoned mental home or something like that. It was hectic, yeah.
And so that was there for a few years. Inevitably, I guess, it gets bulldozed and turns into apartments or something?
Yeah, it's apartments now.
Yeah.
I feel like it was there for a few years. I think it just got boarded up because they were condemning it and they just deemed that it was just not safe enough. But, where people were riding, there was never any injuries or anything like that from, like bad design from the building or anything like that. It was just, it was a spot in time. And I think on that sort of side of town, it was a spot where a lot of the riders went to do massive pieces. Yeah. I'd probably say 10 metres wide by 2 metres high. Yeah. Uninterrupted, perfect area. Blank canvas.
Man, that footage would be awesome. You really need to try and share it with some people rather than just your crew. I'm sure a lot of people would like to see it.
Yeah, no, well, I'll start to put a bit more of this stuff up on YouTube or something like that, or pass it through. Yeah, no, there's a lot of we've got photos and stuff like that as well of not only there but other cool spots.
Yeah, I think when Leon mentioned it on his podcast, which was a long time ago now, a few people sent me some photos of different flicks and stuff there. So a lot of people, even the people that weren't there, had heard about it. It's a bit of an iconic spot for out there.
It was known, 100%. Yeah, no, it's there's not many spots like that around anymore where you just sort of like go and that's different eras though as well.
It is, and I guess that they would have sort of turned a blind eye. They're like, it's like a skate park. They're like, oh, well, if the kids are there, they're fucking up. They're all there. We know that's where they are. Now they would board that place up straight away, and it'd be like,
public liability insurances and all those sorts of things. But again, it was a time as we wanted to do more riding and stuff like that, where there just simply wasn't a lot of spots around to do it. So today's era, having multiple skate parks, if you're into that sort of stuff, council run dirt jumps, albeit they're nowhere near as cool or well ridden as older jumps. There's a lot of stuff out there. Just depends on what you're into.
Yeah. And so in the 2000s, when you are still traveling around, you're still doing that, you're recording stuff, but you're not putting it out. Is BMX, I guess, jumps, does that go out of fashion a little bit and street takes over, or is it all everything sort of has its own lane?
Street became far more well known, I'd say. Street became probably the biggest discipline. You tend to find that skate parks were sort of like not the last resort, but it would be, in terms of like people taking it to the next level, would be street, I'd say, where Focal Point, who had done their zine, done print media, were also then starting... They almost were the carryover of the Box Hill Pride videos, where they took the mantle from a Melbourne perspective, and the Bendigo guys were doing their thing and Cranbourne guys were doing theirs, but Focal Point brought out a ton of cool DVDs and then onto online vids where it was the next level street, just crazy. Like people were... doing rails that you wouldn't think of. There was a completely new set of riders almost that were coming through. So, it was just natural evolution. Not a lot, but some of the guys that we used to ride with got to that 25-ish sort of era where they're like, BMX is still epic. And, I mean, I'm 42. I still love it. I can still do a 360 out of Knox Bowl on demand if I have to. For the kids, which is cool. But it was a different scene. Trails have always been around, but nowhere near as prolific as they once were.
Yep.
Back in the day, it was all dirt jumps. Everything was just dirt.
And what about vert? Is that still that's a dying off a little bit.
Yeah, that's a real niche, purely because it's just so bloody savage. Like, the ramps are massive, even just dropping in. Like, it's been times around, like, Paran and stuff like that where I'd been to, like, Revs or something like that with a few of the guys, and you go past the bowl, oh, not the bowl, the vert ramp, and you stand up the top, and, like, I wouldn't drop in on that for $50, you know, like...
You can roll in there.
Yeah.
Would you roll in?
On the other side. Yeah, I probably would. Yeah. I probably
but then
could.
you get to the other side, you're like, what am I going to do now?
Exactly. But no, vert was crazy. Deep respect for all vert riders.
Yeah.
Like, there was... like Trevor King was an institution of really doing freestyle tricks. He was a Knox sort of local, but very much vert. Another guy, Matt Fairbairn, who was from up north, I think Newcastle. These guys are going like 6-7 foot out. You know, it's just crazy, which is, you think about how high it is off the ground, and you're suddenly about 4 stories up.
It's nuts. I've been at Paran before. It's probably the only time I've ever seen vert in person, just skating when I was like 15 or whatever, and some dudes just got there, I don't know where they came from, and you're just watching them, just like, that is out of control. Even the skaters that get air just look at it and go, fuck, because bailing's totally how do you even bail? You get rid of your bike, you're going to land on a peg, like, fuck, man, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, you're going to hit coping on the way back down.
Yeah, you just come out the wrong angle, you hit the flat. You know?
Yeah, now vert's epic to watch, like, in terms of, like old vids and X Games, you know, Matt Hoffman and Tony Hawk and things like that in their disciplines, really pushing it. But yeah, it was something that I'd never grew up with anyone who was, like an isolated vert rider. It was skate parks, so it was, getting, very technical on skate parks and things like that. And, street and dirt, that was it.
And what about freestyle? That just sort of just...
like the flatland sort of stuff, incredibly hard as well. So there was a thriving scene in Melbourne for flatland.
Yep.
I think even today, if you drive past like IMAX building, you'll see that there's a couple of flatlanders there doing tricks. But it was you had to have a different bike set up fundamentally to do flatland. Yep. So an incredibly steep head tube angle, shorter bike frame, things like that. You couldn't ride a flatland bike anywhere else. Yeah, it was completely different.
And man, I never understand, because I've got bad knees, how like tall dudes can ride around on the 26-inch BMX, or what are they, 24?
20
inch.
20 inch, yeah. So
man, I just can't get I'm short too. It's crazy.
It's you can BMX frames come in different lengths and different geometries and different rear, like seat stay lengths and things like that. So there's a bike frame for everyone, and they make frames in different sizes as well. So if you like a specific frame, it's like, I want to get this in a 21.25-inch top tube with a 13.75-inch back end, whatever, they can make it.
Yep.
And especially there was a sort of a breakout period in that early 2000s where these like companies like Specialized and Mongoose and things like that played their part massively for the scene, but a lot of rider-owned companies started coming in from America, where Terrible One, there was, like obviously S&M, other companies that were building their own bikes and almost sticking it to the man and doing their own thing.
Which happens in a lot of scenes, because once they're like, oh, you guys are good, but we actually know what people want.
Yep.
We're going to make it ourselves.
Yeah, they really made the sport cool, I'd say, where it was you just wanted to be like them, where they're just the ultimate cool dudes. Yeah, where they don't give a shit about nothing. They make cool video parts. They don't really go to comps, but they've got an aura and almost like an invincibility about them. Still to this day, the best trick that I ever saw in person was Joe Rich, who owns T1, at his ramp in Austin, Texas. He did what's called an alley-oop turndown, and I was closer than you or I are away. And I'm like, this is the most unbelievable feeling I've ever had. Yeah. I still think about it today. Sometimes when I'm driving, I'm like, this is, you've invited us in as just random 20-something-year-old kids from Melbourne. You've shown us your jump, and you've just lived up to the hype and been a wonderful servant for BMX.
Yeah, and now you look at some of the tricks people are doing, and it blows your mind, man. They're like literally letting the bike go and catching it. I'm seeing people doing fucking no-hand catching it, throwing it backflips. And
it's crazy, yeah.
Like, I'm just like, I don't even know what that is, but it's fucking nuts.
Yeah, a lot of like the resi style training stomping grounds. Like on Instagram, you see like R. Willie and all these guys, and they're doing such a wonderful thing for the sport by getting others into it.
Yep.
It's definitely not my cup of tea in terms of what they do. It's more, I was always just about doing not even many tricks, just riding jumps as smooth as you can and as effortless as you can with style. But I completely see what they do for the sport, and they've pushed it so far. Like, it's obviously in the Olympics, and Queensland's got a thriving scene as well.
Yeah. It's interesting how the Olympics, there's only park, there's not street. But then with skating, there's park and street. But then the BMX, but is there still the BMX racing as well?
Yes. Yeah, I feel like there is. Yeah. I don't know if I caught it on this year's Olympics, but there has been in the past where there's been, gold medal. Don't know. There's definitely still a massive scene for BMX racing. Yeah. We've hosted in Australia the BMX World Titles back in 1996. I remember going to that and seeing, and even sitting in the stands with a lot of the pros that were over here from overseas, and you're talking to Argentinian kids and stuff like that who spoke broken English, and it was just a real community.
But that's so cool. It's like it transcends language and everything. People can just watch that, the tricks and just
Yeah, no, that's one big thing that I'll look back on and sort of vividly remember is just, doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, like BMX or even skate, like people are all in it for the same reasons, just to have fun, and the amount of like knowledge and worldly experience I got from traveling and talking to different people resonates in who I am now as a person, and what I'm into, And
so inevitably, as you get older, you don't record as much. Life gets in the way, but you still have the passion for BMX, and you always sort of will. Do you continue to record stuff just for your own benefit as you sort of got a little bit older?
So like after about 25, you don't film as much, but you still ride. Like I still get out on a BMX, probably once every month at least. Yeah, to have a solid ride.
How do the knees go? Knees back? What?
Knees are all right. Yeah, I'm not as dangerous as some of the other guys. Yeah. We have a ride that we do, which is a competitive ride now, which is for a fallen friend called Michael Bowes. So he passed away from brain cancer 8 years ago, give or take, maybe even longer now. He was young. He was like 32 at the time. Young family, legend of a bloke from Clayton. He's dice rolled the wrong way, and he got brain cancer, which is just terrible. But we honour him every single year, we don't have a specific date that we do it, but all of the Box Hill Pride crew and our friends and families get together at a BMX track. We usually, in a BMX race, you're meant to have 8 people maximum on a gate, and then the gate goes down and you do a lap. We have like 25 people on it's like
chaos.
It's chaos. It's awesome. Yeah, there's dogs running down the start hill. There's kids running across the track. I'm surprised, touch wood, no one's got hurt doing that. But yeah, that's something that we all make sure that the bodies are in relative health, getting ready for that ride, and that's coming up in November.
Yep.
Which will be the 8th one of those that we've done to just honour his legacy, and we do a video for him as well, where we showcase all his old footage.
Yeah, cool.
And I reach out to through Instagram to ex-professional BMX riders that are a little bit older than us now that we used to absolutely idolise, and see if they can do a small little shout-out piece for the vid, which 99% of them come back with open arms, which is crazy because they're the people that, when you were growing up, you absolutely adored. Like, I was never into idolising Gary Ablett or Peter Dacos as a Collingwood fan. It was all BMX and that was it. Yeah. It was just, these guys are our heroes. We want to be like you. And now to go full circle, where they not only actively do a message, but they also reach out. I speak to them, semi regularly just to check in. It's humbling.
The awesomeness of social media, that sort of stuff really is. You can reach out to somebody and they can get back to you, and then you can sort of link with somebody that you really looked up to. You realise they're just a normal person that's just, replying to my message. Yeah,
they're just legends. Like, you're daunted almost by trying to approach these people because you've got them in a different light, but they are just the most sincere, nice people. I remember many years ago when you'd watch the old Volatile Visions videos And then I remember seeing Kim Grosser and Mick Bazan at Camberwell Skate Park in the early 2000s, and from afar, about 50 metres away, I'm like, whoa, these guys, they're real, they're here. Yeah. And then, like, probably 2 months later, you're top mates with them, they're in your video, they're coming around eating schnitzels at our house that Mum's prepared. You know, like you should never be too daunted to sort of like approach people to just say hey, and especially having that stick such as BMX that you can relate to is cool. And seeing the way that they rode in person off the videos, as I said, everything looks different in real life compared to on vid. It's like, this is epic. And to this day they're still close friends, and they'll come to the Bose Cup. People from all around Australia come across for it.
What tricks were they doing in 2000s at Box Hill? At
Camberwell.
Camberwell, that you were when you were standing from afar watching.
I recall. So they used to be like out of the bowl to bank, which was sort of as you would jump out and then hit that box jump. Yep. Yeah, like Kim would just effortlessly just like flip it. Yeah, Bazan flipping the spine just with ease, just like it was like nothing, just like breathing.
Yeah.
Massive tail whips, real tech street style riding on park. Yeah. And all brakeless too. So there was no brakes.
That's I can't remember who it was. Somebody sent me. Fuck, it's going to annoy me. I can't remember who it was. Someone sent me Jordan De Goey. You go for Collingwood.
No, I'll go for Brisbane.
You go for Brisbane.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. Jordan De Goey doing a backflip at Box, not Box Hill, at where are we talking? Camberwell. At Camberwell's Camberwell Fun over the fun box, he did a backflip. Can't remember who sent it to me. Someone did, and they're like
Jordan De Goey.
Jordan De Goey.
Yeah. That's it.
I can't remember who it was, but that just triggered me. That's
awesome.
I thought about that. Because that skate park there was 2 bowls, I think. So could you air from one bowl to the other? Yeah, up the top there.
Yeah, there was like there was so much versatility that you could do at Camberwell Skate Park for starters. That that's also what made BMX really unique. Is like dudes were hitting different lines that you didn't even think was possible. So people were jumping out of like the street part of the skate park into the bowl, and then jumping around the bowl, then back out.
It was pretty well designed.
It was really good.
Because I think they really took into consideration skate and BMX there. They didn't just make a skate park. The BMX they thought about it for both, you know?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. They had something for everyone there too, where it wasn't just too big. So you go to a few skate parks and it's just wild. Yeah. But they had small little areas where, even some of the kids of that era could go and just, do their thing. Some of the bigger players in the game would hit the bigger lines, but every pro team that came through Australia, or definitely in Victoria, would hit up Camberwell Skate Park. That was a stop. Yeah, I remember seeing Dave Mirror, who was the biggest BMX rider of his era, rocking up in a limo to Camberwell Skate Park in the rain.
Really?
Yeah.
In the rain? Oh, because he was doing
They were doing a promo. Yeah. He was there with, I think, Ryan Nyquist at the time. I don't know what it was for. But, like, every kid was there, came out. It was like he was a god. Like, came in.
He had the video game as well, which looked like the similar sort of engine to Tony Hawk, but it was the Dave Mirror one.
Yeah, Activision or whatever it was. Yeah, I remember playing that. Yeah, no, they both had good... good times at our place in Box Hill where we grew up. Yeah, I remember my brother Vaughan playing Tony Hawk non-stop for probably 3.5 months. Just going for it. It was great. Yeah.
I think that's... What about... what's it called? Warren Ponds. That was another concrete park. Early days.
Yeah.
And they had the spine ramp and all that sort of stuff. Was that BMX sort of friendly too?
Yeah, that was a well-known park, like when that first started sort of cropping up. So... Geelong had a really good scene. There was a few, real, like killer riders down there. And again, like different lines you would never see. There was guys down there doing what was called a foofanu, where you jump out of the bowl onto the rail, which was like the pedestrian rail at the back of a skate park. Do a foofanu, land on the back wheel, then jump back in, which was just crazy. Like, a few of those guys down there were doing stuff like that. And again, you'd only hear of it through, just through whispers or through zines and stuff like that. So what Focal Point were doing was trying to bring it to the sort of like the masses within our scene. Again, no internet, just yeah, my old man was fortunate enough to help Focal Point get off the ground. So Coop had an idea. I want to make a zine for the BMX scene, but I don't know where I'm going to print it or how to do it. Dad's like, just give me the USB. I'll take it to my work at Telstra. Just ran off all these illegal copies on the Telstra printer. Just had this.
Telstra's got plenty of money.
Had this collaboration going with Coop underground to get it off the ground, which was cool. And yeah, I remember Dad coming back with like a Xerox box. Here you go. It's like it's probably like $500 worth of printing there. But yeah, it was wonderful to have that support from him and from my mum.
Yeah, for sure. And now we've got a lot of Australian riders who are really doing big things. Obviously, we've had Louis on the podcast here.
Yep.
But man, there must be a whole bunch of people. Like, he's obviously right up there, but there must be a bunch of young riders now that are really sort of pushing the whole thing.
Yeah, no, Lou's, he's killing it. So he, in my eyes, would be, right in that top shelf of BMX riders within the whole world, in terms of street.
Globally.
And, no, he's on a different level, like effortless. I'll say that again. He's very effortless in what he does. Yep. So it just comes natural. It's
stylish.
Yeah, it's stylish. Does, again, tricks that not many people can or will do. Crazy on street. And he put out a part a couple of years ago now that went absolutely viral and for good reason.
Yep.
It's probably one of the highest rated YouTube BMX clips that I've seen. I don't even know how many it's up to now. It might be like 800,000 or something like that.
Is it on Vans or whose page is it on?
No idea what it's through. I'd know it if I saw it. It's just a section that he put out. Yeah, but Lou is obviously doing his part for the sport and representing overseas. There's a ton of riders, I'm sure, that are doing their thing, and kids you don't even hear about who are digging in the deep woods sort of thing. But yeah, don't keep too much of a close eye on individuals within today's sort of era. But yeah, very much just make a point of it to educate my kids and to take them to skate parks. He's got his own, him being my son Reed's got his own little crew called the Outside Boys.
How old's he?
He's 9.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to Nugs. So one of our guys from the old days started this crew called Outside Boys, where it's a crew to get kids to go outside and off iPads, fundamentally, especially for me.
Yeah.
We go to Knox Skate Park, almost every Sunday, do some tricks, and Reed and Clay, my other son, will roll around on bikes and jump in and out of the bowl and stuff like that. It's cool.
Did they always get into the BMX? Did they try and pick up the scooter and that sort of thing?
They also have scooters and they like scooters as well, but that's all right as long as I get to go out and ride the skate parks as well. It's far better than sitting at an indoor play centre for 2.5 hours and sipping on coffees. It's good to do something that we can all enjoy. Yeah,
it's a funny one because you want them to be interested in what you're interested in, but you also don't want to be that pushy sort of dad. So it's like with my son, I'm like, there's lots of skateboards around. You're like, use that, you know what I mean? But you don't want to be that one that's like, let's go to the... Because then you force it and they're not going to enjoy it.
Nah, and I remember vividly, like, my parents not enforcing anything. It was like, do what you want to do and, be who you are. It was never to do with schooling or anything like that. I remember, like, it's all sort of sliding doors moments, but I went to a different high school in year 7 and 8. I went to Doncaster High School and I was bullied as a kid. And in those years, and then it was by chance that I saw a guy called Neil Graham who was on a BMX bike at a fete, and he's like, "Oh, where are you going to school?" And I'm like, "Oh, Doncaster," and he's like, "On this BMX bike." He's like, "Oh, you should come to Blackburn High, like come and ride bikes with us." And I'm like, "Bikes? What are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, just maybe change schools, sort of thing." And I'm like,
"Because you could ride at school."
Well, not so much ride at the school, but I wasn't really feeling year 7 and 8 at where I was. And I saw all these kids on bikes in my neighbourhood that I went to primary school with, and I'm like, you know what? I'm like, fuck it, I will. And I changed schools, and it was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
Not only did I stumble across BMX and that sort of style of things, but also met my wife at school. Wow. We went to high school together, and now married for 14 odd years or something like that. So
there you go.
Yeah.
I met my partner at high school as well, but then we didn't get together for like 20 years after that.
Yeah, much the same. The same. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, but it's good to have that connection.
Traveling around and doing my thing, and I'm sure she was doing hers. So it was that's just funny how it all sort of combines. But there was this one kid, Neil Graham. He probably would have no idea how much impact he made just in terms of, riding a bike, being close to home. He had older brothers that were into BMX. They had old, Mongoose Moto Mag, Tufts and stuff like that. It was cool. And muscle cars and stuff in their garages. It was, as a 13-year-old kid, it's like, far out. Who are these guys?
Yeah. And did Leon and Vaughn's the younger brother?
Yep.
Did they follow you to that school as well?
Nah, so they both went to Koonung High. So, that was another school. They just decided to go there because I think they had a few friends that were going to those places. And then, sort of through the different schools, each school kid had a mate sort of thing who was also potentially into BMX. So we met a lot of our really tight crew through other schools sort of thing and related to other kids riding BMX and, hey, what do you do? Oh, yeah, I don't mind getting out on a bike. It's like, I'll come to our trails, have a look sort of thing. So, and like, I don't know how long ago it was now, 25 odd years ago, all those guys are still tight as, like, from the BMX days, like through to the videos. And then after all the videos came out to being, very close friends and seeing them grow and some of them having families and things like that. It's wonderful to see everyone, enjoying themselves and all still keeping in touch.
For sure. And it's really important, I think, because a lot of people stay friends with their friends that they went to school with, which is fine, but you are sort of locked in geographically. It doesn't mean you share the same interests. Sure, some of them you do, but a lot of them you don't. And I think that it's really important to find people that are interested in the same shit as you. You don't just share the same year level at school.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, it's there's a few people that I still hang out with from high school, but very sparingly.
Yeah.
But like it was from sort of like that 18-year-old phase through to, call it 27 or something like that. It was literally every waking spare moment you would be with these guys. Lived with a few of them as well. Shout out to Jim and Boogs, who we all lived together. And just having a good time and riding was just the bonus fundamentally. Where we look back at it now, especially in my shed with all the old tapes, and go, good times. And to have that footage is I'm very fortunate because a lot of guys killed it, but they have and they've obviously got the memories, but they don't have anything hard copy that they can visualize or look at, or after 7 beers in a shed, go check this out. We're putting this on. Watch this. Have a laugh.
For
3,
sure.
2, 1. Yeah.
And I guess people are lucky that you guys had the video camera and you were down to document it. Like even just Prod, the rider that I've just had on.
Yeah.
A lot of graffiti riders he was up so much, but there's no footage, there's no photos, and I guess graffiti is a different thing where you don't think about documenting it as much. But it's really cool that you guys had the camera there and you did document it, because a lot of people have the memories, but that's all they've got. Yeah,
fortunate. Got so many photos, hours upon hours of video ready to go. In my shed, we've got all the old VHS tapes with a working VHS player. So we, play footage, and also if there's other people around, like work colleagues or something like that, to give them a bit of and sort of an insight into what we did back in the day. We put some of them on. So it's cool to educate and showcase, what we are incredibly proud of as a collective to have been part of.
Man, just from seeing on socials, your man cave does look pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it goes all right. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's set up to be exactly that, where it's almost my wife, much to her hatred, it's like, you've got a bloody BMX museum down there. Like, we need to store some stuff. And I'm like, nah.
But it's not in the house.
Yeah. So I'm a BMX tragic, 100%, where I have a smaller collection of BMX stuff, like frames and helmets and magazines, and obviously all the photos and DVDs and stuff from our Box Hill Pride days. But Standard BMX, which is a rider-owned company out of Devonport, Iowa, in America, was a BMX frame that I used to ride called a Trail Boss, where I just loved what they were about, and they're another rider-owned company that had been around since day dot. So they were fundamentally the first rider-owned company that I can recall. They were going up against almost like the bigger brands. But through the journey, I've collected a lot of really cool BMX frames, one-of-ones, prototypes, things like that. And
I'm guessing that stuff holds its value pretty well, or it appreciates in value, which not a lot of other little collectibles probably don't.
Yeah, I'm sure they're worth something, but it depends on who they're worth to, sort of thing at the same time. So to me, something's probably worth a lot more. And to some rando, if they saw it on a hard rubbish collection, they wouldn't even like pick it up.
Yeah.
So, but no, we my shed has been a hosting area for many, many years. My 40th birthday, the Bose Cup, where everyone comes in. It's just a place where you can almost step back in time a little bit, which is kind of cool.
Awesome.
And let your hair down and drink a few beers and watch some classic footage and just laugh with your crew. That's the big thing. Like we all still get together. We're still all in stitches, just ribbing each other as mates do. You know what I mean? And it's been a pseudo pirate mafia sound booth for rehearsals and stuff like that, where they've all prior to gigs gone there to do rehearsals and stuff like that, and I just sit there in the seat and just watch them, and it's fun to see as a fly on the wall.
You never wanted to get on the mic?
Nah, never been a micman. I've had a deep seated history within the Oz hip hop scene, like having seen a lot of cool stuff go through, not only from what Leon and Bomb Funk and that do, but like back in the day, all of the like Battle for Supremacies and stuff like that. I remember going to those, and
so you've always been a fan.
Yeah. That wasn't though. Like, and we used a lot of Oz hip hop on the videos. Yep. You know, like I think Reasons on one of the vids that we've done, Lyrical Commish is on another, albeit sort of unauthorized 22 years ago, where we would just use it because we could, and it was just sort of what you did. But loved Oz hip hop. I remember like many years ago when you couldn't even buy subscriptions, going to Blockbuster in, I think it was in Mont Albert, and seeing Muff in there with his old man. I think getting a video from Blockbuster for a hire on a Friday night.
Wow,
that was cool. That was my first real celebrity hip hop sighting. I'm like, that's fucking Muffin, sick.
What was he hiring?
I can't remember. Maybe an action. It was sort of around the time of like Con Air or something like that. Not that it was that, but it was a long time ago. And we'd go with like my brother and my dad and just get vids and music was a big part of what the BMX scene was as well. So it was very much at the start was all Victory Records, hardcore sort of stuff, Hatebreed and Boy Sets Fire and all this sort of stuff. And then punk started to come through, where I remember Stuart Dolly, one of my closest mates, it's like, there's this band called Millencolin. We're like, Millencolin, who are these guys? Like, and you'd bounce music ideas again off other crews, you know. So Bendigo scene was very much into, that sort of like ska punk sort of stuff, and also hardcore. And then, as we, sort of got into it more, Oz hip hop was something that really, a lot of the crew were into. Yeah, and all the classic albums.
So when you're traveling around with Leon, he's starting to make music as well, and he's doing the Pirate Mafia stuff as well as the BMX stuff. They go hand in hand, or does he do that a little bit later?
Probably a little bit later. So there was always, and I don't know where they are, and he probably doesn't want to release them, but they are awesome. There's all old like raps and stuff like that in our house at Box Hill that they all did. They're somewhere. They're classic. It's like with anyone. Everyone's always had the classic raps. And a guy called Paul Manzi, aka Foil Man, who when he'd get on the piss, he'd wrap himself in foil and go to parties. He was known.
Foil Man.
Yeah, Foil Man. He was sick. Yeah. He's a one of a kind. Yeah, he's They would all rap together, and that's really. Yeah, to be a sort of a fly on the wall, like especially like Nugs, who was part of Pirate Mafia, wicked tattoo writer, owns his own shop down in Tassie now called Takumi.
Yep.
That I remember him doing his first graphs, like big scale graphs at the squash courts, and just like watching him like develop, take ideas. Him and Deeks, this other guy, like bouncing ideas. They're almost like critiquing. It's almost like two artists. Like, and I'm riding, and I'm just at the top of this wall, about to sort of drop in, and they just kept talking about like what they were doing. And I'm like, this is cool. Like to see different people like getting into something for the first time. It's almost like that tweak where it's like, yep, I've got the bug. This is on. Yeah. And it's the same with Leon, where his hip hop like thrived. So Pirate Mafia have been around, I think probably 11 years or something like that. But probably longer. What am I talking about? 15 years probably, where they hit it hard. Then they had that 10-year sabbatical, and now they're making, a sort of another sort of album coming up soon, which will be crazy as well. So
when Leon came in here last, he does say Don Carter. Then he says, hoist the colours. Then he says the other. I can't remember what the other one was, and I think he said 2024 after that. But we're running out of 2024 now.
Yeah, no, he's on it. Yeah,
Okay.
no, and that's his absolute passion. So, yeah, to see how they all started to form doing raps when they first started, where they would just simply, just find two words and make them rhyme, didn't matter, to now doing lyrical voices and verses that have so much resonation with what they're actually talking about.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool to see, and really proud of the way that they carry themselves. And I've with the Pirate Mafia stuff, I've just sort of helped them along the way, just with some not ideas, but just like you should drop another album. It's going to be I often say to Leon, like especially when Hoist the Colours came out, like that's epic, but like make another one as good. I challenge you.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, cool. As the younger, bigger brother sort of vibe, he's like, yeah. So he's working on something which I think will be incredibly special, and they'll be pumped to bring out soon.
Soon?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, you'd have to ask him, but I would think it would be definitely sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Good one.
Yep.
Very diplomatic response.
Yeah, watch this space. I don't want to steal his thunder or put him in the shit.
No, but he does. When he did some live raps here, he says Don Carter 2022. Then he says Hoist the Colours 2023. Then he says something minded 2024. So I don't know.
No, he's there. He's always over at Checkmate's joint doing stuff. It's on. Yeah,
Okay.
They're all getting together. It's I think they're doing a sesh. Yeah, even as soon as this Friday to do some other stuff on it. But he'll let everyone know about that, I'm sure.
Sweet. Good one. You mentioned before about rider-owned companies. Now, that is obviously something that is a thing in skateboarding as well as BMX. But, like, you've got big brands like Nike and shit coming in now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that they're just trying to profit? Do you like what they're doing? Like, is it, you know what I mean?
In today's sort of era?
Yeah, well, they're coming in now. Like, it's kind of like I wear Nike SBs or whatever, but there's Nike, I don't know, a 6.0, I think is their version of the BMX sort of stuff.
Yep.
But people do wear them, people do wear that stuff, but it is taken away from the rider-owned sort of shit though, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think it's great. I think that if bigger companies are trying to do the right thing and supporting crew, it really depends on what the output is.
As long as they do it tastefully and with the right mentality.
Yeah, as long as it's not whack. There was a time once in BMX in the early 2000s where everyone was just trying to get on board, and there was no reason for it. Almost like obviously the money is incredibly important because it makes the world go round, and you can do more comps and get out to more places and progress at a more rapid rate. But yeah, I think in today's game, like it's nowhere near as prolific in terms of money coming in compared to what it was. BMX used to be massive, where there was so many different crews. There was, you'd go to Shepparton and there was guys building jumps that you'd never heard of, like the G puller and stuff like this, which was like the biggest like jump in a riverbed that had never seen water for a while. And yeah, like nowadays, because there's not as many crews around from what you see, or they're definitely not as pointed because of social media, that I think any help is probably a good thing.
Yeah. Do you think that the bit of the slight decline in popularity might be due to kids getting on scooters and staying on scooters or something like that? Like what? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or why has there been a slight decline in popularity, do you reckon? Or just because everything goes in waves?
Yeah, and choice, I'd say, and having a scene, because a lot of the BMX scene in the early 2000s was /fortunate/unfortunate that there was no internet media presence, so you had to watch it, you had to sit down, you had to really, it's almost like putting on a record, you know what I mean? Like you have to make it involved, and these days Instagram, you can see 55 different things in 3 seconds, and that's okay because that's today's era. But back then there was definitely more like eyes glued to it for longer. So I think that might have attributed to why it's not as popular in terms of there's still definitely scenes out there. There's definitely shops like Anchor BMX has been around for a long, long time. They're like, they're an institution now, virtually
Never
the only
been
one.
in there, but it looks really cool.
Yeah, so they're on Johnson Street.
Yep.
Yeah, they've been there a long time.
Their branding's really good. They always do good merch and stuff. I see, like I follow them, and yeah, they look like they're doing a good job.
Yeah, they're the original owner, Lee G, who's an old Tassie crew member. He had his own video crew going as well, called the Clown Posse, where they made vids as well, and they were next level. And he's sort of done a hell of a lot for the sort of the rider scene within Melbourne, and sort of almost took over from that Strictly BMX scene, where Strictly stopped fundamentally as a business and then rebranded and went to Fountain Gate, where I don't think it worked out that well. And then they've been purchased out as a business name and basically shipped up to Queensland, where the scene's bigger.
Oh, so it's gone from Melbourne altogether.
Yeah, Strictly, probably a year and a half ago.
Right.
So Colony BMX are the owners of Strictly, and they are going to do a killer job with it, where they're going to bring it back to the way it sort of really was.
Yep.
But yeah, to answer the question of like why not as many people, I'd say it's just in an era where it's just there's far more choice, there's far less crews actually connecting, where you're spending so much time with someone and it becomes infectious, where you want to be part of that. So you have to start somewhere as well.
Yep.
So having more jams, stuff like that doesn't really appear unless it's from an older rider, as far as I can see.
The grassroots stuff has to come back.
Yeah, and that doesn't just happen organically and naturally. You've got to have like really passionate dudes within an area to be able to do it. So, for example, Strictly used to host a jam at Flemington Banks, where there was riders from all around Victoria would come, try and get together, have a sesh. They had a car down there at one stage, which was demoed, and dudes just having a wild time. And to me, that BMX scene is not just the riding, but the mateship that you make along the way.
Having a barbecue and a beer.
And just watching the footage, looking through the tapes, and then other like-minded individuals from different crews wanting to really put their staple on it as well.
Yeah. From a BMX perspective, who would you like to see on this podcast? I think I know who you're going to say because you've told me a few of them before, but I want you to say it now, so we might try and get their attention this time, because they're a hard crew to get to lock down and do an episode, man. So
there's a lot. There's a ton of dudes BMX wise who have definitely inspired me that you'd like to hear a bit more of. I feel like probably that early '80s through to the mid '90s scene is almost like for me, almost like a bit of a black hole where, I'm sure it was around, and I'm sure there was people...
Not documented well.
People killing it at Old Knox Bowl and the old Ringwood Parks and stuff like that. But, I feel that, my zone, which I hope that we as a collective have contributed, was at like 1995 almost through to 2005. But, dudes like Cooper, Kim... There's a lot of guys out there that
we've reached out to both of those guys. Hopefully they'll come around.
Yeah, and they've got many tales to tell. Yep. Cooper's focal point journey would be wonderful. But like countless. If I had to think about who I like, dudes like Dave Scott from Knox, who is an older head at Knox Skate Park. I reckon he'd have a few stories.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. He helped Stevie McCann get across to America and really sort of helped him on his journey.
Yep.
It's in the early 2000s there was probably 100 riders that would all have an epic story.
Yep.
And guys like Chris Matthews or Flags from Bendigo, who now lives in or on the west side of Melbourne, but he'd have an epic story to tell.
Yep.
That's the thing. Everyone's got their own little piece of it. Yep. And I feel like we really contributed a lot to giving people of today's era maybe a chance to look back at what was around, the videos, the spots, and having knowledge and also footage to be able to do stuff through like Dig BMX and stuff like that Coops and I have helped out a little bit with
yep.
doing spot checks at schools like Tony Hawk or the Tempe Rail and things like that. Because, we would simply just go out to like a random school and just try and get lucky.
Yep.
And find a spot, and if it was good, you'd either film it or you'd tell your crew about it, and then you'd go back, and hopefully someone can pull it off and do a awesome trick, or hopefully not hurt themselves. But that's what made the world go round.
That's all part of it.
Yeah.
And there's some schools down here. Have you checked out some of the schools down here? There's some handrails around.
A little bit, yeah. Not recently, definitely, but we would always just basically get a Melways out, and Coops has got a Melways, and I hope he's still got it. But it was just this thing looked like the Da Vinci Code, where it was just like full of transcript and yellow biro and fluoro markers through it and stuff like that. Where we've got to go here. He almost started rating them, I think, from memory. Where he was like, this school's crazy, but. The Mornington scene's always there's some, like Red Hill, there's some, used to be some trail sort of scenes sort of going on there. And, a lot of my mates, still live down here.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. Got mates who live in Macrae and things like that as well. So, it's good.
Good spot. Man, we're approaching 2 hours. Is there anything we haven't touched on yet?
Many things, but I think you could go on for 5-6 hours. But it's, I hope that, the takeaways of this are that, BMX in the 90s and 2000s were a wonderful time where everyone was getting together, doing jams, having a crack, getting creative, doing art, not afraid to have a go and to challenge themselves and to travel. These are the sorts of things that I bestow to my kids now and say, you're 10 now, but in 8 or 9 years' time, you should go overseas and travel. Because I remember when I was that age, like this is... The world is your oyster. You are in for a treat, and get outside, do some some challenges. Try different things, try different sports, see what's for you. Incredibly lucky to have found BMX because it's BMX owes me nothing, but I'm so fortunate to have been part of it and the crew mates for life. Best men at like Bonfung's wedding and stuff like that who were, like I remember picking him up from Doncaster area and driving him to the trails and he was wagging school and that's like 25 odd years ago and you're like, this is, we've all done a long journey together and it's simply because of BMX.
Man. And it sounds like it's all positive. It sounds like it's all love and it obviously holds such a dear spot into your heart, man. And the passion you have for BMX comes out. You can see it in your eyes. Like, it just means a lot to you, which is awesome.
Yeah, nice. I appreciate it. It's, and thanks for having us.
Man, it's been almost 2 hours. I think we're going to have to go and have something to eat. But I appreciate you coming in, man. And I'd like you to come back again. We can talk more. We can probably delve deeper into specific parts. We can talk even about specific videos, more stuff. But, yeah, man, I think for now we might wrap it up. I appreciate you coming in, Andrei.
Pleasure. Thanks for having us, mate.
Cheers.